Happy Easter, everybody. I hope we're having a good one. Remember that Easter might be a facade and it's not actually what we all think it is. Anyway, 2 Samuel chapter 1. Now it came about after the death of Saul, when David had returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, that David stayed 2 days in Ziklag. And on the third day, behold, a man came from Saul's camp with his clothes torn and dust on his head. And it happened, when he came to David, he fell to the ground and prostrated himself. Then David said to him, "From where do you come?" And he said to him, "I have escaped from the camp of Israel." David said to him, "How did things go? Please tell me." And he said, "The people have fled from the battle, and many of the people also have fallen and are dead. And Saul and his son Jonathan are also dead." Then David said to the young man who told him, "How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" The young man who told him said, "By chance I happened to be on Mount Gilboa, and behold, Saul was leaning on his spear, and behold, the chariots and the horsemen had overtaken him. When he looked behind himself, he saw me, and called to me. And I said, 'Here I am.' Then he said to me, 'Who are you?' And I answered him, 'I am an Amalekite.' And he said to me, 'Please stand next to me and finish me off, for agony has seized me, because my life still lingers in me.' So I stood next to him and finished him off, because I knew that he could not live after he had fallen. And I took the crown which was on his head, and the band which was on his arm, and I have brought them here to my Lord." Then David took hold of his clothes and tore them, and so also did all the men who were with him. And they mourned, and wept, and fasted until evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the people of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. Then David said to the young men who informed him, "Where are you from?" And he answered, "I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite." And David said to him, How is it you were not afraid to reach out with your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" Then David called one of the young men and said, "Come forward, put him to death." So he struck him, and he died. And David said to him, "Your blood is on your head, because your own mouth has testified against you, saying, 'I have finished off the Lord's anointed.'" Then David sang this song of mourning over Saul and his son Jonathan, and he told them to teach the sons of Judah the mourning song of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jashar. "Your beauty, Israel, is slaughtered on your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Tell it not to Gath, proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon, or the daughters of the Philistines will rejoice. The daughters of the uncircumcised will celebrate. Mountains of Gilboa, may there be no dew nor rain on you, or fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul, not anointed with oil. From the blood of those slaughtered, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back, and the sword of Saul did not return unstained. Saul and Jonathan, beloved and delightful in life, and in their deaths they were not separated. They were swifter than eagles, they were mightier than lions. Daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet with jewelry, who put gold jewelry on your apparel. How the mighty have fallen in the midst of battle. Jonathan is slaughtered on your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. You have been a close friend to me. Your love for me was more wonderful than the love of a woman. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of war have perished." It's getting bright over there. 2 Samuel chapter 2. Then it came about afterward that David inquired of the Lord, saying, "Shall I go up to one of the cities of Judah?" And the Lord said to him, "Go up." So David said, "Where shall I go up?" And he said, "To Hebron." So David went up there, and his 2 wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. And David brought up his men who were with him, each with his household, and they settled in the cities of Hebron. Then the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying, It was the men of Jabesh Gilead who buried Saul. So David sent messengers to the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said to them, May you be blessed of the Lord, because you have shown this kindness to Saul your Lord, and have buried him. And now may the Lord show you kindness and truth to you. And I also will show this goodness to you, because you have done this thing. Now then, let your hands be strong and be valiant, since Saul your Lord is dead, and also the house of Judah has anointed me king over them. But Abner, the son of Ner, commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. And he made him king over Gilead, over the Asherites, over Jezreel, over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel, and he was king for 2 years. The house of Judah, however, followed David, and the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. Now Abner, the son of Ner, went from Mahanaim to Gibeon with the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met them by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, Abner's men on the one side of the pool, and Joab's men on the other side of the pool. Then Abner said to Joab, Now have the young men arise and hold a martial skills match in our presence. And Joab said, Have them arise. So they got up and went over by count, 12 for Benjamin and Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 from the servants of David. And each one of them seized his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side. So they fell down together. Therefore that place was called Helkath Hazareim, which is in Gibeon. That day the battle was very severe, and Abner and the men of Israel were defeated by the servants of David. Now the 3 sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, Abishai, and Asihol. And a seal was as swift-footed as one of the gazelles that is in the field. Asahel, I'll say it differently every time, pursued Abner and did not turn to the right or to the left from following Abner. Then Abner looked behind himself and said, Is that you, Asahel? And he said, It is I. So Abner said to him, Turn aside for your own good, to your right or to your left, and take hold of one of the young men for yourself, and take for yourself his equipment. But Asahel was unwilling to turn aside from following him. Then Abner repeated again to Asahel, Turn aside for your own good from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I show my face to your brother Joab? However, he refused to turn aside. So Abner struck him in the belly with the butt end of his spear, so that the spear came out at his back, and he fell there and died on the spot. And it happened that all who came thereafter to the place where Asahel had fallen and died stood still. Oh my goodness. What is up with this lighting? I have to put my hand right here. But Joab, the Abishai, pursued Abner, and when the sun was going down, they came to the hill of Ammah, which is opposite Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the sons of Benjamin gathered together behind Abner and became one troop, and they stood on the top of a hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Should the sword devour forever? Do not realize that it will be bitter in the end. So how long will you refrain from telling the people to turn back from pursuing their kinsmen? Joab said, As God lives, if you had not spoken, then the people of Judah certainly would have withdrawn in the morning, each from pursuing his brother. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the people halted and no longer pursued Israel, nor did they continue to fight any more. Abner and his men then went through the Arabah all that night. So they crossed the Jordan, walked all morning, and came to Mahanaim. Then Joab returned from pursuing Abner, but he gathered all the people together, and 19 of David's servants were missing, besides Asahel. However, the servants of David had struck and killed many of Benjamin and Abner's men. 360 men were dead. And they carried Asahel away and buried him in his father's tomb, which was in Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men traveled all night until the day dawned at Hebron. Again, happy Easter. Maybe look into the truth of what Easter is. You never know what you might find. God bless you all. Amen.